The story opens with a lavish dinner party hosted in honor of Richie, a billionaire businessman, and his recent professional success. Seated beside him is his wife, Hunter, as they celebrate with other wealthy guests. Richie's achievements have brought significant profits to his company, and his proud parents beam with admiration throughout the evening. Later that night, Richie and Hunter return to their newly purchased, extravagant home nestled in upstate New York. Although her life now brims with luxury, Hunter, who hails from a modest working-class background, finds herself struggling with an overwhelming sense of boredom and emotional emptiness. Her days are mostly filled with small distractions, like cooking, sketching, and playing mobile games. But the loneliness lingers. Richie, emotionally unavailable and constantly distracted by work, often leaves her feeling invisible. During one dinner at home, Hunter tries to spark a conversation, hoping for a moment of connection. But Richie is glued to his phone, busy responding to business messages, barely acknowledging her. A few days after the party, Hunter discovers that she is pregnant. She excitedly shares the news with Richie, who reacts with genuine happiness at the idea of becoming a father. Wanting to mark the joyful milestone, the couple goes out for dinner with Richie's parents. At the restaurant, Hunter attempts to share a lighthearted story from her childhood, but before she can finish, her father-in-law cuts her off, shifting the conversation back to business. Feeling overlooked and quietly humiliated, Hunter withdraws, her gaze settling on the ice in her glass. In a sudden, almost unconscious act, she pops an ice cube into her mouth and begins crunching down on it, an action that creates an uncomfortable silence around the table. The following morning, Hunter receives a visit from her mother-in-law, Catherine, who brings her a book about postpartum depression, mentioning how it helped her during her own pregnancy. Before leaving, Catherine also makes a subtle comment about Hunter's looks, suggesting she grow her hair longer, since that's what Richie tends to prefer in women. While reading from the same book one day, Hunter stumbles upon a passage that sparks something inside her, a boldness she hadn't felt before. Acting on a sudden impulse, she picks up a small marble from her collection of trinkets and swallows it. To her surprise, she feels strangely uplifted afterward. Later that evening, when Richie returns home from work, he notices that Hunter is unusually cheerful. Curious, he asks what's made her so happy. Hunter, keeping her secret, simply smiles and says she made a decision she's proud of, like choosing blue curtains. Richie accepts the explanation, albeit with a hint of suspicion. The next morning, as Richie gets ready for work, his mood sours after discovering that one of his silk ties has been ruined. Meanwhile, Hunter quietly manages to pass the marble she had swallowed. Without hesitation or disgust, she retrieves it from the sink. Later that day, Hunter is called in by her mother-in-law, Catherine, for a talk. Catherine questions Hunter about her life before marrying Richie. Hunter reveals she used to work in retail, selling toiletries. Catherine remarks how fortunate Hunter is to have married Richie, and subtly probes whether Hunter is genuinely happy or just pretending. Hunter insists that she is happy, though her body language tells a different story. On another day, while cleaning the house, Hunter comes across a thumbtack. Temptation wins over hesitation, and after some struggle and a pricked tongue, she swallows it. A wave of relief follows. That evening, Richie comes home with some friends. As Hunter prepares to greet them at the pool, sharp pain from the thumbtack hits her, forcing her to rush to the bathroom. The painful episode results in blood-stained struggles, but she manages to clean everything up just in time to avoid any suspicion. At the pool, one of Richie's friends congratulates Hunter on her pregnancy. The moment takes an odd turn when he asks for a hug, claiming to feel lonely. Hunter hesitantly agrees, but as they embrace, it's clear she needed the comfort more than he did. Over time, Hunter's compulsion intensifies. She begins consuming various non-food items around the house: metal figurines, batteries, book pages, safety pins, almost anything she can find. The act of swallowing these objects brings her a sense of thrill and relief that she can't seem to resist. During a routine ultrasound appointment, the technician spots something unusual in her abdomen. Hunter is immediately taken in for emergency surgery, where doctors discover numerous inedible items clogging her intestines. After an evaluation, she is diagnosed with pica, a psychological condition that drives individuals to eat non-food substances. When Hunter returns home, Richie is both furious and baffled. He demands answers. But Hunter, overwhelmed and confused herself, insists she doesn't understand what's happening to her, and that she's never even heard of pica. Deeply worried, Richie and his parents decide it's time for her to see a psychiatrist in the city. Initially, they accompany her to the sessions, but the psychiatrist, Alice, soon requests to speak to Hunter alone. In their one-on-one session, Alice gently asks what swallowing those objects feels like. Hunter confesses that she finds comfort in the sensation of their textures inside her mouth. Richie, growing increasingly suspicious of his wife Hunter's behavior, hires a Syrian man named Luay to watch over her while he's at work. However, this only adds to Hunter's frustration. Over the next few days, Hunter becomes more and more agitated by Luay's constant presence in the kitchen. His so-called help quickly turns into intrusive behavior. He even begins criticizing her mental health, suggesting that her issues would seem trivial if she had endured what he had in Syria. His actions escalate to the point where he inspects her before letting her use the bathroom. Yet despite all this, Hunter continues to secretly indulge in her strange compulsion, swallowing non-food items to satisfy an unexplainable urge. The narrative then moves to a grand celebration, Richie's birthday party at their lavish mansion. During the festivities, Hunter realizes to her horror that everyone present knows about her swallowing disorder. When she confronts Richie about exposing her secret, he brushes it off, saying it's his special day and he doesn't want her ruining it. The remark stings, and Hunter is left feeling humiliated. Later that night, in the midst of intimacy, she abruptly stops and demands an apology before continuing. In a subsequent therapy session, Hunter opens up about a deeply buried trauma. She confesses that she never knew her real father, only keeping a photo of him. She also reveals a heartbreaking truth. Her conception was the result of her mother being assaulted by a stranger. One day in the garden, Hunter finds herself drawn to the soil, tempted to consume it, but manages to resist. However, while washing her hands, she overhears Richie talking on the phone with her therapist. She's devastated to learn that Richie has bribed the therapist, Alice, into disclosing everything they've discussed in private, including her most painful memories. Overwhelmed, she breaks down once Richie leaves for work. Luay finds her hiding under the bed and, surprisingly, offers her quiet comfort, sitting beside her and gently placing a hand on her shoulder, silently acknowledging her pain. Later that night, Hunter wakes to find Luay sleeping beside her. Her compulsion strikes again. She frantically searches for something to swallow. Desperate, she grabs a screwdriver and gulps it down. The consequences are immediate and dire. She starts choking. Luay, jolted awake, calls emergency services and rushes her to the hospital. Fortunately, the doctors are able to remove the object without harming either her or the fetus. In the aftermath, Richie and his parents pressure Hunter to sign papers, committing herself to a psychiatric facility for 7 months until the baby is born. Though reluctant, she's forced to comply when Richie threatens divorce. Luay watches helplessly as Hunter is coerced into giving up her autonomy. The next morning, as she prepares to leave, Hunter suddenly returns to her room, pretending she forgot her charger. There, Luay meets her and urges her to escape through the woods. She follows his advice, and once she's out of sight, Luay stages the scene to make it look like she fled on her own. Hunter eventually hitchhikes to a motel, pocketing a small handful of soil on the way. That night, she calls Richie and confesses that her pregnancy was an attempt to make him happy, that everything between them moved too fast. Richie tries to sound supportive, but when she refuses to return, his tone shifts. He insults her, calling her useless and unskilled. After ending the call, Hunter smashes her phone and spends the evening alone, eating the soil she brought with her. The following day, she checks out of the motel and calls her mother, asking if she can stay with her. Her mother refuses, saying her other daughter is already living with her. With nowhere else to turn, Hunter sets out to find her biological father, William Irwin. Upon reaching his home, she finds him celebrating his birthday with family and friends. As she approaches, William mistakes her for a fellow parent, but when Hunter mentions her mother's name, he immediately recognizes her as his estranged daughter. In a private conversation, Hunter confronts him about his past assault on her mother. William admits to the wrongdoing, explaining that he served time and now deeply regrets his actions. Hunter asks if he feels ashamed of her, if she's like him. William firmly denies it, assuring her that she bears no responsibility for what happened and that she is not defined by his mistakes. Their emotional exchange offers Hunter something she's long needed: closure. With that moment of clarity and peace, Hunter makes a life-altering decision. She visits a clinic and takes abortion medication while having lunch in a food court. Later, she endures the physical effects of the procedure alone in a public restroom. Despite the pain and loneliness, Hunter emerges from the experience with a sense of relief and liberation. She knows the choice wasn't easy, but it was right for her. Finally, with a clear mind and a lighter heart, she sets out to begin a new chapter, leaving the trauma of her past behind.